What's good, everybody? Today is September 26th. We're about to run through price action from the day. We're going to look at all the lessons that the market gave us and a couple big things that I think are really important to just pull out of today's price action. So without further ado, let's just hop straight into it. All right, so on the 4-hour chart, in my opinion, the most important thing to look at was how we bounced off of. First of all, we're expecting the sell model to go this low, right? We're expecting that, right? But we end up bouncing, and you can visibly watch that and react to it. That's the big point, is not to predict, but to react. We can watch consequent encroachment get hit here, and then we can watch price bounce, and then zooming lower to see if we're just going to bounce and pull back. No, we actually end up getting a change in the state. We get manipulation, right? So right here at consequent encroachment, we see an SMT placed in right here, and then we end up seeing our change in the state right here telling us that we want to go higher. So I would mark that right on this leg right here, because that's when I saw true displacement through with a little bit of a fair value gap open up, maybe on like a 30-minute time frame. Yeah, something like that, right? So going into open, I'm now watching this and I'm saying we might want to be bearish until some kind of maybe Asia high or whatever, right? Because on open, zooming lower, right? On open, we only have this leg put in, right? So we only have this leg. We still have Asia high resting above from previous day. And as well, check out that weekly profile, right? For the majority of the week, we have been dumping. So we can now expect to see some kind of thing on this Friday setup to go ahead and push us lower. We had a Monday push up. Then we had Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday continuously pushed down, and then we can expect to see Friday close back into the range to make a really nice weekly candle. We check it out, some kind of doji looking pretty fat, not gonna lie. So yeah, right here. So we see that doji candle placed in, literally exactly what we're seeing in the daily chart, up, down, and out. Yeah, like it's self-explanatory, right? So we are looking pretty bullish going into the day. So all I'm looking for, right, is if on this 5-minute time frame, I want to see some kind of manipulation lower, an SMT, and then take a long, right? So the reason that there's no long setup on open is because if we go here on ES, right, we open the market, and I believe we most likely placed in some kind of SMT here. Let's scroll out, right? I believe we most likely came in and placed some kind of SMT. So we took, what was this level? At 9:30, we end up taking this initial low, and then over here on ES, we do take it, but we don't take any of these other lows. So we do play some kind of SMT, but there's just a straight move higher at 932. This is actually first presented as well, but there's no tap back into it before we end up taking the high, right? So that's something that I don't want to even touch. I don't even want to trade, because first, my RR is so low, and there's no conviction with a bigger time frame draw. So I can't play one of these situations where I'm like, hey, I'm going to take this trade right here with my regular stop, and instead of taking it off at this high, I'm just going to go break even here. And then I'm going to look to run it for the external draw, because the external draw is so close. Even then, I'm going to be getting a 1.1. So is it really even worth it? Like, I don't think so. So don't end up taking that. And then from here is when we saw a really clean dump, right? You could have actually traded this for shorts. I don't think the setup was the worst. I just don't think it was that good in my opinion. We came up and we created SMT after taking, I believe, yeah, Asia high over here from a previous day. And let me just quickly check. I believe we also made that SMT right there. So we make an SMT externally and internally. This is now kind of setting up for a little bit of a dump to just trade this internal model, most likely down to either this low or this low. Really whatever standard deviation is telling you to. And in this model, I believe standard deviation says this next one right here. So that's where I'm looking to trade, right? So if I get this and setup looks good and I see my displacement right at 10 o'clock, right? 10, I see my inverse value gap, I see my displacement. Boom, we look good, change the state right here. We don't end up getting any pullback. There's no trade, and there's nothing to feel bad about, because at that point, it doesn't matter that, you know, we made the right assumption. We did all the work. We waited for our setup. We placed our orders. We just didn't get tapped. There's nothing that we can do to be mad about, to go in the NYSE and smash it up. Like, we can't do anything to change the fact that price didn't pull back to tap us, right? So that's why you're faced with that game of either play market orders or wait for the pullback. I always wait for the pullback, and at times like this, like sometimes you do get edged, right? And there's nothing you can do. It's just a game of trading. So overall, I mean, that trade was perfectly fine. I think narrative said everything was really nice. SMTs, displacement, time and price, everything was beautiful. Generated liquidity, beautiful setup, right? But we didn't end up actually getting any pullback, so we didn't get a trade. I think that setup was one of the best ones of the day. But now let's zoom out and let's check this out, right? Aligned with the actual bigger time frame narrative, right? From that point, we're now expecting to be pretty much bullish, right? Let's go back to ES. We're expecting to be bullish after taking that consequent encroachment. Let me see if I have, yeah, no. So yeah, after taking consequent encroachment here, we're now expecting to continue bullish, right? Let me draw that in. So tap consequent encroachment, expecting to continue, change the state. all I want to see to continue trading along, right? Continue trading a long model. If I get some kind of internal manipulation on this bigger time frame, I can look to go trade that internal model right here. So the internal manipulation that we end up getting is this turtle soup right here, and it ends up becoming an SMT. So quickly we'll draw it in like this. Actually, we'll do A's right here. So drawing it in, we see SMT at that level. Boom. I'm looking to trade whatever one is actually stronger on the bigger time frame and is actually going to bring me towards my take profit better, right? So in this situation, both of these are pretty strong. I'm going to be trading, I believe SPX would be better for this, also because we're the stronger one. We didn't take liquidity here. So this places in our SMT. Now I'm looking to wait for my entry model, which is going to be that inverse value gap and that change of the state, right? So the biggest thing here was wait for it, like just wait. Like it's very simple, 1025, just wait, and then you get your displacement. Boom, this is when you enter. And the only sad part about this trade is just how inefficient it was. It was so close to hitting stop loss so many times, but there was actually, yeah, there's really, yeah, I mean, this trade, like, it was pretty inefficient, but you can tell when narrative is aligned, but maybe structure isn't, and I'll explain this in a second. We get trades like this where it's slow drags, but price has to go there, and it's going to go there, even if it freaking takes all day, exactly like this example, where it ends up taking, actually, wow, what an edge. So yeah, almost ended up taking it right around market close. I would have probably taken it off. So probably got a 2R, yeah. So this is what we trade, right? And the whole reason that we end up seeing this big choppy move is because narrative and structure aren't aligned, right? When narrative and structure are aligned, we get efficiency. So narrative, meaning what does price have to do on the higher time frame, right? Looking at the higher time frame here, we want to see turtle soup on this level. We want to see displacement back higher after getting, like, here, let's draw this in, right? We want to see turtle soup, internal high, displacement, boom, boom, boom. And what do we want to trade against, right? That's narrative, right? Because bigger time frames aligned. But structure, when I say structure, I'm mostly talking about this internal structure where if I'm looking to take a trade like this, I want to be trading against something that looks like this. Looks very slow, very lethargic. It looks like it's visibly generating liquidity, right? So I'll quickly just draw this in. Boom, boom, boom. Now, I want to be trading against something like this, right? Where it looks like it's visibly generating liquidity, and I like to trade to that high. And because I like to trade this because it will give me efficiency in price because there's no big obstacles to price movement going drastically higher, quickly, easily, efficiently, all that good stuff, right? So when you see price start moving weightlessly, destroying all those levels, that's when we can then go ahead and expect to take trades to the upside. So in this situation, we're trading the complete opposite, right? We're looking for something like this, but against us is a huge fair value gap and a complete straight down move. So if you look, I mean, it's literally just a big fair value gap right here, inbounds price action. So we need to see price run through that. But the reason it ends up working is because narrative is stronger than structure. But when they're both aligned, that's when you get efficiency, right? So that's the situation that we're at. This is the setup. I think this is actually pretty class today. I'm not gonna lie. I just wish we could have moved faster and we could have actually like gotten some good what's it called? Just some good movement, some good play time. It was actually much better on NQ, taking out the change to the state level. You're gonna end up, I think, bagging similar R. Yeah, 2.16, but it completes. When does it complete? About 14:25. So you've been in a trade for like 4 hours. It really sucks in my opinion, but I mean the trade, the model's there, right? And it validates it. So at the end of the day, it's what you're gonna end up taking. Another way to play this position, which I thought was actually pretty sweet, was right here. So after seeing that push up, that becomes 5-minute change in the state. Now we can look to take some kind of internal model right here. And I think this was cleaner on, let me check this out. I think NQ is cleaner. Yeah, so NQ is cleaner. Wait, no, yes, my bad. So after we see our push higher and everything, and we see 5-minute change in the state on one of these levels right here, I'll just start in right here to give you guys a little bit of a visual, right? And I start seeing price push lower. I'm now looking for whatever low I can to become turtle soup if I believe the model's still valid, right? And at this point, the model doesn't look the most valid, but when you watch and react to price, generate A right here, like I'll literally draw this in for you guys, A right here, and then I see this visible ass manipulation right here, below the level. And then from there, that's when I see distribution higher. When I see these two beginning parts of it, pull back. When I see these two beginning, the A and the M, and it's within the turtle soup, the 5-minute change, and I look to see generated liquidity right here, that's when you can look to take a really clean short or long setup after you see that change the state, because now we have AMD model aligned with turtle soup, right? So right here, you could have looked to take a position right about here. This could have been first take profit for 1.17. Wasn't the worst. The best way to really get added would have been that fair value gap, but I mean, that's kind of a little intuition for y'all. I think this is most likely a breakaway gap because we do end up tapping the order block there. So it's not really like price has to pull back. If you place that, that's probably what I would have placed mine and then not gotten tapped. So no problem, unless over here, and then that's like a snipe, but that's hindsight, of course. But overall, you could have taken that and then left that for just runners. So the way I probably most likely would have taken that would have been right here. And if you could have left that for runners, that would have been really sweet. Most likely you do go break even after you hit that first take profit at that internal high right here though. But yeah, I mean, that's the trades of the day. I think price narrative was very clean in the higher time frame. I'm not gonna lie, very efficient. However, I just did not like that big dump, right? And another lesson I want to talk about quickly from today is understanding the concept of morning manipulation, right? A lot of people when they get into trading, they say, what is morning manipulation? How long does morning manipulation last? They call it things like Judas swing, all that stuff, right? Understand, just like every other concept in the market, manipulation is fractal, right? Where if we zoom in, we're doing something like this, right? So your higher time frame is looking here, right? So higher time frame gives us some kind of sweep, right? So we're sweeping some kind of level right here, right? And we're starting to place high, right? If we're looking and we're seeing, are we bullish yet? Are we bullish yet? And 930 opens right here, right? We have generated liquidity. We have an idea that we want to go higher. Maybe take some kind of, generated equal highs right here, something like that, right? We have that idea in our head. We think we want to go ahead and continue higher. Maybe 930 goes ahead and does this, right? On the 1 minute time frame, we sweep lows, right? That's going to be our 1 minute initial fractal manipulation, the smallest time frame manipulation. Then the 5 minute starts to displace back because that 1 minute manipulation was so big, right? So 1 minute manipulates lower, 5 minute leaves 1 minute leaves all this inbound price action, right? Now the 5 minute ends up making that 5 minute change of the state right here. And then we end up running that all the way to the top of this model. But then understanding where this model's at in terms of the bigger model, this is just something like this, where that becomes turtle soup, right? And I'm still expecting price to continue lower all the way down to this level. So our first initial 1 minute manipulation right here is in line with the bigger time frame draw, but in terms of this model, that's opposing to the draw. So that becomes our manipulation, right? Then this 5 minute manipulation is what is actually opposing to this bigger time frame draw, right? But this is its own model in here, right? This is its own 5 minute model, but now understand that 5 minute manipulation becomes turtle soup, and that's its own form of manipulation to go ahead and push price lower down to this low, right? This is a textbook model, and there's 3 things that you could classify as morning manipulation, right? You could say this initial move right here, 1, 2, and then this becomes your distribution. So 2 things you classify as morning manipulation, but understand that in terms of this model, this becomes morning manipulation. This is the distribution from that manipulation, but that distribution can also be on the bigger time frame compared to the bigger model. That distribution from the initial small manipulation can be its manipulation of its own for that bigger model, right? This is manipulation in terms of the bigger model overall right here. So it's kind of understanding and being super flexible. Just getting reps in with price is what's really going to do the damage here and make you able to understand this stuff the second you look at it. So overall, super efficient day today. I think some interesting lessons to learn from the market today. Great day to just sit back and trade the strat and just watch, bro. So overall, excited for the day. And yeah, so I'm gonna let you guys go. Hope you guys learned something from the day. Hope you guys like the way I analyze price action, the way I talk, the way I do my things, explain things, all that good stuff. So I'm gonna have to let you boys go now. So peace out.